How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Hoop Show. My name is Ben Reeve, and as I won't say always, but I'm joined by my regular co-host of the Hoop Show and panelist, the one, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, Mr. Paul James. Welcome, Paul.
It's good to be back. It's been a while since you and I have done this together, between your absence for Geelong and Hawthorn, and then kind of me being a 1 week on and off sort of model. It's been about a month since you and I have actually been on, I reckon, round 3 after the Suns.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You did sack me at one point after I think you got the win against the Hawks.
Look, I did point out the fact that after the Hawks game, and that was the one that I hosted, that when I host the Cats win, well, obviously that's already been blown to shit. But
well, you're recording it at your end today, so it's behind the scenes stuff.
Sure.
But we're back. We're back together. Cats had a nice win, Paul. We'll get into that in a second. Just wanted to point out, it's a little thing for us. We like a little milestone here and there. We've just ticked over the 700 subscribers, so thank you very much. Bit of a fist pump. So everyone who's joined on board in this journey of ours over the last, year and a half, 2 years now, Paul, something like that. Thank you very much. We are pushing towards the 1,000. Hopefully we'll get there by the end of the year. So, spread the word. Now, just a quick shout out for our Patreons as well. We've got a Patreon site. Just want to always give a bit of a shout out to the two Jareds and Ted. Thank you to you three as well. You're making our dreams come true. Now, Paul, we did talk on Twitter. I did share that you had a special interview with a certain. I'm going to use polite language. A former Swan.
He was a home wrecker. He was a home wrecker for a lot of us.
Yes. Nick Bloody Davis. That dropped on Tuesday last week in the lead up to the Cats rematch, or we can call it a replay. I'm not sure. Probably a replay.
No, it was very much a rematch. Replay. Sorry,
very much a replay.
Very much a replay. But we'll get to that soon, I think. But
so that was a great episode with Nick Bloody Davis. So if you haven't checked that episode out, just go onto our YouTube channel and check that one out.
Yeah, all credit to him. Nick, obviously, there's a lot of people have heard me be incredibly frustrated over the years when it comes to that game, and not even acknowledge his name. Well, obviously, I just refer to him as Nick there and Nick Davis and whatever. Like, I'm over that because he was a fantastic bloke to chat to. And he made a pretty reasonable point that maybe it's time for us Cats fans to let it go, considering what we just did to him in the grand final, and I guess what we just did to him again. But like, that was their biggest loss since 1998. What we did to them the other night, but
it was huge.
But again, more on that shortly. But he was a fantastic guest. We got to. I think the thing that a lot of people lose sight of is the fact that he was actually a Collingwood father-son, and before making his way over to the Swans, and obviously did some fantastic things beyond just that one game as well. Really, really good bloke. Great to chat to. It was an awesome episode. So I implore people to go catch that one and check it out.
Yeah. And if you want to check out this Tuesday, Paul, he's got an interview recorded a few weeks back with Barry Stoneham. For those of us my vintage, probably grew up in the 90s, or maybe Paul might have caught the tail end of that.
Yeah, I still caught some.
Yeah, Barry Stoneham was running around with your Gary Ablett seniors and your Billy Brownlesses and Paul Couches and all that crew in the 90s.
Was a captain for a while.
He was a captain for a while, and that was actually. And I say this every time, Paul, don't I? That was probably one of my favourite episodes of yours. I think I learned a lot about Barry, hearing him talk, but also just doing some show notes and a bit of research on him as well. So that's look forward to that one. That'll be dropping on Tuesday afternoon, I think. Can't remember. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Tuesday. I feel like the times have fluctuated a little bit.
I know.
I have a nasty habit of not paying attention to which one you've actually got lined up to roll out next, and so then all of a sudden. I'm going, oh shit, hang on there. I need to get the audio version up.
Exactly.
And all that. Please make sure, people, if you haven't already done so, check out the audio version, podcast feeds, behind the play. It's a handy little way to take it with you wherever you go.
That's right. Mate, there was a game of footy on Saturday night. We should talk about that. But before the game, there was another activity that happened. It was the raising of the Premership flag. So that was fantastic. I got to the game. And it was great to see some of the legends of the club. I think Fred Flanagan was out there as well. Clearly, Joel Selwood was going to be there, and Lingy was there too. Tom Harley was around, but he had another job to do that night as the CEO of the Swans. So I didn't get involved too much in those activities, but that was fantastic. Seeing the pomp and the ceremony all do it. I did feel a little bit awkward about it, especially being Anzac weekend and maybe too much of the focus being taken away on that. But you got to raise your Premiership Cup or Premiership flag at some point, don't you? So
first home game, really and it was their first home game, so just conveniently happened to be Anzac weekend, but it is what it is. Yeah.
And I'm going to admit, and I don't normally get emotional when it comes to footy, but I actually started crying. I actually full blown started crying when the flag was going up. Oh, I think that was playing the song, and I'm getting emotional now as I'm recanting. I'm thinking about it again, but it's just, oh my God, what's going on with me? What is this salty discharge? It was. I couldn't believe it. I looked over my wife, and I had to stop singing along or whatever because I just couldn't. My voice was starting to break. My voice is gone now because I'm screaming too much on the weekend. But fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I don't know. Did you catch much of it on the TV?
No, I've actually missed. So I still plan to go back and rewatch. I actually missed because the kids' bedtimes and all that. I was basically missing the flag being hoisted up and got burst into the room with about 2 minutes before the game started. So. I still fully intend to go and check that out, but I haven't had a chance to do that. And apologise for my distraction a moment ago. There was a mosquito hanging around. I need to mash that little prick's head in.
Any spiders today? No.
None that I'm aware of. No. But you'd think the way the weather's starting to turn that the mozzies wouldn't be hanging around, but they're still buzzing around in here.
I had one dropping dead on the webcam the other day when I was trying to film something.
Really?
That was a distraction. Let me tell you. All right, so a couple other things that were going on before we get into the actual game itself. It was Tommy Hawkins' 333rd game, taking over from second place after Boris or Corey Enright on 332. And I did suspect that there was a small chance he might actually kick 5 goals and equal Barry Hall on 16th of all-time goal kicking. I thought they might be a next week kind of thing, but somehow he got that as well. So 2 big milestones for Tom Hawkins on the weekend. So fantastic effort from him.
Where do you see him finishing up at this particular point? Because, his average now per game for this season has now crept back up to about 2.5. So he's just off the back of 2 big weeks is now well and truly kind of back at his normal sort of pace. It's really only that Jez is flying along that's kind of stopping Hawk from really tracking towards his 12th consecutive year as the lead goal scorer. But where do you see maybe his final total finishing up at?
What is he? 746 at the moment in terms of goals. Probably just short of 800. I know you've said earlier in the year in one of our other shows that you reckon you might go on again next year, unless you've changed your tune on that.
No, I'm really confident he'll go around next year, especially now that he started warming up too.
Yeah, I think he can probably. I agree that he could go on next year. Whether he will is probably where I'm sitting at with it at the moment. I think he's got a young family, and especially if we go close to winning another one this year, he might just say thank you very much and I'm done. But yeah, that's who knows. Only him and his family and maybe the coaches know what he's thinking. So maybe he doesn't even know. Maybe he's not thinking about it. So
I mean, look, it'll be one of those things that's now on the agenda thanks to seeing his best mate out there, Joel, obviously pulling up stumps. Instantly, that's going to put the seed in your own head. Like, oh, hang on, I probably need to think about myself a little bit more here. But I guess, and this is not to discredit Joel whatsoever, because obviously he was still fantastic last year as well. But he was losing his speed. He was losing. He was still ultra combative and would bash and crash and all that sort of thing. But there were others that were coming through that had brought the speed and all those sorts of things that were starting to not overtake him, but catch right up. Whereas Hawk didn't have speed to begin with, so there's that, and his strength is still there, as he proved multiple times on the weekend. So
he's a crafty son of a bitch.
It's really only desire for him.
The way he moves his caboose and blocks his opponent so he can take those big chest marks, he's just the one. He's fantastic. I love watching him in that forward 50, just move his opponents around on a lead, just guarding that space and holding off 1 or 2 blokes. Look, he had a bloke on him that was 20 kilos lighter than him. So, we'll get into the votes a little bit later, but I can tell you, I didn't have Tom Hawkins in my votes for that reason. You probably judge Tommy Hawkins harshly because he's so bloody good, and unless he plays a career game, you don't really give him much credit. Look, we had a late out, Paul. We did have a late out, and so Segler was named, but didn't play. So the next best ruckman that we had, the next big that we had to bring in was clearly Sam Simpson. Was there any other name you could think of when Segler wasn't going to play?
Just even our exchange pre-game.
Exactly. What is going on with that?
So who are they bringing in? Sam Simpson.
Simpson. Yeah, Silk, the washing machine. It was great seeing him kick that first goal and getting around him. He knew as soon as it came off the boot, it was a goal, and everyone came from all corners of the globe to jump on him, and it was fantastic.
That's where I had a sneaky one roll down the eye. Now, I did say early in the year that I didn't. I'll make sure I put myself in my place here. I did say that I didn't think there'd be a spot in the 23 for him when this was during our pre-season one. Happy to eat my words there. He played a fantastic game. I mean, sorry, it wasn't even that I felt like he was incapable of it. It was just that I felt like he was further down the queue. But
it's a big queue. Yeah,
it's a big queue. It's a high quality queue. But based on his performance there, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be there next week. In fact, I feel like he probably pretty safely holds onto his spot for as long as Stengel's out, and then we just have to wait and see after that. Like, I guess what sort of body of work does he put together? What's the health and state of everyone else in the team? Maybe he retains that for quite some time. The club loves him.
Yeah, but he's got a little bit of work to do on his ruck craft. But he'll get there. He'll get there. He didn't go up in too many hit outs, but that's okay. He's
get a step ladder.
It was good to see him back. 603 days out. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Brandon Parfitt, he got dropped, and Mitch Nevitt got named as the sub. So a bit of a shame. As I thought, he might have to go back to the VFL, and unfortunately, it's a bye week this week, so no VFL games for him to have a bit of a run around in. So. But Mitch never had a bit of a taste of it, which was good. It was probably more. I think we can get into the why we won the game and some of what happened throughout it. But I just felt like with all the Sydney outs, all the injuries, they had no chance. They were never going to have a chance against us. I didn't expect it to be 93 points. I thought we'd win very, very comfortably by maybe 10 goals, but I did not expect a replay of that grand final. No way. That was insane. But yeah, poor Sydney. It's okay if you lose 5 players that aren't key position players or whatever. You can cope with that, but you can't cope with all your big defenders. They had no defensive lineup. Buddy wasn't there.
But there was weird decisions even then. Like they brought Aaron Francis in, and he can play as a key defender and a key forward, and they threw him forward. Yep. I'm like, okay, I understand that you're light on up there as well, but you've still got your Logan McDonalds that are there. Like you've got a tall forward. You don't have a tall defender. Get him up there because you've got Callum Mills playing on Hawkins. It just made no sense to me, that decision.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have necessarily curbed him that much. But maybe it would have been 8 goals between him instead of 10. It's not much, but
still, if you can, those 2 big boys kick pretty straight. Normally they're going to kick 6 goals, 4 between them if that was the case. But so it looked tough night for Sydney. As I said, I didn't think they were going to win the game, but that's okay. Look, we got off to a great start, Paul, didn't we? 6 goals again. I think was the same as the grand final last year. Went into the quarter time huddle with a 27-point lead. I think it was just absolutely dominating. And you just felt I was sitting there in the stands feeling pretty good about myself. I don't know how about you. Clearly just rushing into the room with 2 minutes to go, but feeling pretty good at quarter time, were you?
Oh yeah,
feeling confident.
Quarter time came along. And okay, it's the grand final again, and it was. So
yeah, it was beautiful. It was great. But we absolutely smashed them. I think we won stoppages by we scores from stoppages plus 47. Absolutely destroyed them there. And half time, talk to me about what happened after half time, Paul. Absolutely nothing from the Swans.
Their queue was completely and utterly in the rack. They had no more shots to fire, and again, not necessarily the biggest surprise in the world for us, given how undermanned and depleted they were. But again, it makes those decisions like the Aaron Francis one all the more confusing. You can see what was going on. Why not flick another key defender there? And the midfield just wasn't getting their hands on it. There was a few that really tried their guts out, all credit to Luke Parker and Rowbottom in particular. I think he had about 10 tackles in the end. But they were all just chasing tail all day. Yeah. Even Warner didn't really fire a shot, and he's been their shining light through the grand final and even the early days this season has just lived up to all the hype, but
just nothing clicked for him, did it?
Yeah, nothing fired at all.
And I don't normally feel bad for oppositions and opposition supporters, but I don't actually mind the Swanee supporters. I think they enjoy their footy and have got a good attitude about it and have a little bit of friendly banter and don't take it too seriously. So I felt bad for them, but full credit to all the Swannies that caught the plane, all turned up from South Melbourne, and they supported them right to the end and were loud and vocal the whole way through. So you can't ask for much more from your supporter base than that, can you? So.
No, good on them. Look, a bit like you, I've got a lot of time and respect for not just the supporters but the club itself. There's a lot of parallels between Geelong and Sydney in the last in really this period that we've been up and about, Sydney have been right there with us. They even slightly got the jump on us because they were competitive. 2002, 3, 4 when Brisbane was really doing their thing. Obviously, then had their epic clashes with West Coast where they split the grand finals apiece. There, like they've been up as a club for arguably longer than us. They've had moments where they've dropped, whereas we haven't dropped along the way.
I see Sydney as the Josh Dacos, the older brother that started off reasonably okay,
and we're Nick.
And now we've just come in and Nick, and nothing wrong with Josh Dacos at all, but we're Nick Davis.
Nick Dacos.
Nick did I say Nick Davis? Yeah. Got Nick Davis on the brain. Now that we've brought ourselves to be able to say his name, I can't stop saying his bloody name. So yeah, 9 consecutive goals after halftime. The Tom and Jerry show, they don't miss, do they? 10 goals straight between the two of them, 5 goals each. Shared it nicely.
Yeah.
More votes for Jezza in the Brownlow probably.
Let's delve into Jeremy Cameron's goal kicking for a moment.
Let's do it.
So obviously daggers that he wasn't missing, could shoot him from anywhere. About as well as Fogarty today. I don't know if you saw his sealer for Adelaide, which that would, like, if he'd have missed that, we'd have been in the 8 by the end of the round. But unless the Tigers get an upset against the D's, then we'll be sitting in 9th by the end of the round. People probably know most of the answers by the time they check out this video. But the 100-goal talk has started to fire up. The whole, there's an extra game in the season. The Cats, they're now firing, so who knows? He may play 3 or 4 extra games at the end of the year. What do you think the chances are? He's kicking 4.5 goals a game at the moment.
No chance in hell. If anything, we got to remember that we are going to rest our 30-year-old players at some stage throughout the season. Even Jeremy Cameron, he probably would be him and Isaac Smith just hate being rested, but everyone's going to get a rest at some point.
I don't think he will. Unless he actually has a little hamstring scare or something at some point, and the club goes conservative. And I'm not talking about an actual injury, but he just pulls up a bit funny and they go, hey, whoa, week off. If he doesn't have that sort of moment, he won't. And not because he's chasing they're chasing the 100 goals or anything, but I just don't see the need for it. In the case of him, he's only just ticked into 30, so he's an elder statesman in the club now, but he's not.
I just think
that tipping point yet.
The other thing is, he's a dead-eye dick in front of goal, but when winter rolls around, I'm not sure how he goes during the wet in the slop.
He's actually got a pretty good history in a few games, especially at GWS.
I still think he'll fall short. If he can kick 80+ goals, I'll be a very happy Geelong supporter. What do you think? Will he get there for you?
I'm feeling like it. So, and the reason why I'm feeling like that's the case at the moment is because he's gotten some big bags against some of the good teams when we were struggling at the beginning of the year. He did well against Collingwood and Carlton. His quieter game was against the Suns of all teams. Like that, he kicked 3, and then he's just he could have kicked so many more. But he's really embraced the Tom Hawkins teamly sort of way, which is awesome. But the other factor in the thing is Hawk. If it gets towards the pointy end of the season and maybe there's half a dozen games to go, and he's managed to maintain that 4.5, and so he only needs 20-30 goals left, you better believe Tom Hawkins is going to start looking for him at every opportunity. They are going to, without breaking their system, they are an unselfish team as it is. They will look to to hit him up when the opportunity arises, more so than what they're already doing. I just have a feeling he's doing it so easily. He's not straining himself.
And I watched him kick 4 goals against West Coast in a quarter, and then he just put the cue in the rack. He's like, I think part of it will be him making the decision to look after himself. All forwards they love kicking a goal and big bags and whatnot, but I just got the feeling that he just said, "No, I've done my bit, Cats. The win's in the bag. Let's just cruise control from here on in." Look, Tommy Hawkins is definitely going to look after him, and so will the rest of the club. I hope we don't get too cute though. I get nervous about some of that stuff. So hopefully they don't make it about the individual. If there's opportunity to spot him up, go for it. And if the Cats are up by 60 points, that's great. But just don't every kick at Jeremy Cameron.
No, that's the thing. I think they're such an unselfish team as is. I think they'll do it just fine.
And hopefully he'll play the Geelong way and return the favour a fair bit. It's like, mate, Jerry, go back and kick the bloody goal, mate. Like Tommy Hawkins a couple of years ago, he's like, you're 30 metres out right in front and he's trying to give it off. to bring his teammates in because he's that unselfish. He's such a Geelong man.
To a fault sometimes.
To a fault, exactly. But I don't know whether that'll creep into Jerry's game or not. I don't think it will, but anyway, absolute domination, wasn't it? And Mitch Duncan, probably the only concern for us coming out of it was there goes my scarf. That's a good sign.
That's right. I'll let you get it while I talk. You
talk about Mitch Duncan.
There was obviously the hip and shoulder, the contest there that people were concerned about, that maybe he was going to get rubbed out. Well, only about 15 minutes prior to us recording this, the news came out from the MRO that he has no case to answer, and as well he shouldn't, because there was nothing you could do. What's his name? Fox had already overrun the ball, so what's Mitch Duncan supposed to do at that point? He was already incredibly low. I felt like he was in a rock and a hard place. And thankfully, the MRO understood, if Fox has overrun the ball, like, Duncan can't just stop. Nor is he expecting him to overrun the ball. So he's already in the position. What can he do?
I think ask if you polled all the Essendon supporters about whether Duncan should have been offered a one-match ban, they probably would disagree with us.
100%.
But I don't know. I looked at it and I thought, he's probably getting a week there. And then I started hearing all the neutrals talking about how he probably should get off. I'm like, that sort of turned me a little bit on it. But I thought, they hate Geelong, don't they? We always...
I mean, the thing is, it's certainly going to fuel the whole Geelong gets looked after by the AFL thing.
Of course.
And we do. Like
Steve Hawkins.
I had Gil McLaughlin just over here the other day. We were just having a chat and a wine. I don't drink wine, but I drank with Gil, and he told me all the ways that they plan to pay off the umpires to get us another premiership this year. It was great. It was fantastic insight.
I was saying to my partner the other day that Gil's becoming a bit of a... he's got that voice going now, the pig's ass kind of voice. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't. I actually haven't listened to him speak too much. Outside of when he came around to dinner, like, it was really just about the wine.
He's sitting back in his mahogany room with his Cuban cigars. He's just getting this raspy voice.
He's been punching him a bit.
He's on the cigars in a big way. Maybe that's what he'll get his little parting gift, a box of Cubans. All right, mate. So let's talk about some ticks and crosses from the game. And thanks to everyone on Twitter for sending a few of these through. It's probably the part I look forward to the most after the game, just seeing all the nutters out there, just especially when we lose as well. It's just all the things, all these crosses. Everyone gets sacked. Chris Scott, you're gone. Parfitt never plays again. All that sort of stuff. But there was mostly all the ticks, hardly any crosses really, and a couple of silly ones thrown in. For me, probably the biggest one for me that I really enjoyed, and I'll probably forget about a couple others, but Sam Simpson, that first goal after nearly 2 years away from the game. Those are the things that bring a smile to my face, and a bit of moisture to your face as well, apparently.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a nice moment. And I don't know, Geelong seems to have not had too many of those sort of really romantic sort of stories in a long time. And it's luck of the draw, and ideally you don't want to have too many of those. I really can't think of anything that's been long term out since Dan Menzel came back.
Menzel, yep, he's the one. I can't think of anyone else other than that. It was just great to see Simpson out there, just the way he's moving around. I just couldn't see a tackle on him. He looked like he had missed a beat. And if he can keep up that form,
then he belongs
week in week. It's amazing. No wonder they call him Silk. It's just
as long as he doesn't take a head hit.
That's the thing I was going to say before. Is like that's my worry. And it's the same with Menzel when he was running around. It's like every time he went for the high flying mark, I think, oh God, Menzel, what are you doing? Just play it safe. And I think that'll be our hearts and mouth kind of stuff with Sam Simpson when he goes in a big contest. We don't want him to get a head knock because we know how much that's knocked him around a little bit. What do you think about Danger? Did you like Danger's? A lot of people are in love with Danger after this round. What about you?
I mean, statistically, like his numbers. I won't tip the votes too much yet, but I mean, he features. His form is. I mean, it's really emblematic of where the club has been at. And he has been. It was kind of a bit slow, and it's been just trending upwards. And you can see, like, the hunger's always been there, but things weren't clicking, and it's just gradually clicking for him. And Hawks loved it because he's been just dishing him out to Tom. Because I guess when Danger's firing, Hawkins is always in the game because Danger's always a long bomber, which means Hawks are always going to be in the game when Danger sweeps onto a ball. So it's been great for the forward line. It's been great to see the captain up and about. It's been awesome.
Do we even play control style footy anymore, or is it just complete chaos footy these days? It used to be a bit of a mix. I think last year, for the most part of last year, it was that mix of control and chaos. But just watching it on the weekend, it's like they finally realised we've got 2 Coleman medalists in the goal square. Maybe we should just get it to them as quick as possible. I know that's an oversimplification, but Just seems to be a massive shift in the last 9 months, really, of the way Geelong plays their footy.
Yeah, I can't think of much control anymore.
No.
But it's an enjoyable brand of footy to watch, a bit like Collingwood.
It's great, isn't it? It's great. Jez is on 27 goals. We talked a bit about Jezza. But hasn't been a player that's been off to a hot start like this for quite some time. And as I said, I don't think he'll get to the ton. You think he will, but geez, it's good watching him go about it, isn't it? Well, it's fun to watch Jezza.
Without delving deeper into that one, because we have already touched on it, I did see a stat. I can't remember who put it out earlier today, but it was kind of the last 3 or 4 players who've all got the 100. So Barty, Lloyd in 2000, 2001, Fraser Garrick. And Jez's current round 6 tally totally stacks up with where all of them are at. It was 20, but ranging between 27 and 30 goals after the first 6 games. And Jez is in that. So
imagine if he has a field day.
Statistically, it measures up at the moment.
Well, we might get a Gary Ablett Senior, Paul Salmon type game on the weekend, mate, on Sunday.
Yeah,
we'll come to that game in a minute, but it'd be nice if Jezza has another big bag. That'll be great. What else did you like, mate? A few other ticks, maybe. I've got one more before you jump in.
Go for it.
I loved, I love Big Baby Guthrie. I love more.
A fend off from him.
A fend off from Big Baby Guthrie.
He's pretty jacked these days. It's good. He's nailing it. It's been awesome to see. For me, and you actually put it in the notes here for the show, but it was one of my favourite moments was Asava sliding, slipping over conveniently at the moment where he was gone for all money, slipped over, and the tackle missed him as a result.
Yeah, and then went over the top. Yeah.
Resulted in the goal at the end of the day. It was awesome. I'm not as crazy about how he's going as I think a lot of other people are. He's been up when the club has been up.
True.
But when we've been down, he's kind of... So I've got nothing negative to say about him this past week, for example. There was really... But, against the Eagles, he looked pretty rough in the second half. Oscar Allen took the piss out of him a fair bit, I thought.
Yeah.
And that's... Oscar Allen's tracking well. I think he's in the top 4 or 5 goal kickers in the comp at the moment, but probably shouldn't happen at this stage.
No. I think I'm going to have to do a little.
Still,
I'm going to have to do a little clip of the sliding under the tackle thing.
Yeah,
just set it to Benny Hill music or something like that.
Yeah,
put it.
Yeah, that'd be great. And Collar. He bounced the ball at one point. That was
the arrogance, the sheer arrogance of the man.
It's almost like when he kicked his first goal. Crowd went nuts.
It was unbelievable. I was like, "What is this bloke doing?" He's just full of. He missed a couple of weeks with a concussion, didn't he? And now he's.
That's why he bounced it. He just not quite all there yet.
Just the way he played the whole game. He just looked confident, and I'm like, his kicking was. He was one of the best kicks going around on the other night. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was fantastic, mate. We love a certain bloke on the Hoop Show called, and he wears sleeves. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Ollie Henry.
Not Ollie Henry. Did he wear sleeves?
Oh, no, not this
No,
week.
he didn't actually.
No, Brad Close. Brad Close.
Do you know what I love more? It's a Brad Close chase down tackle.
It wasn't.
God, wasn't that great? Was it? The Chad? No, was it?
Yeah. I think he got Warner. Yeah, the Chad.
How good was that? Close. He played very well. Not giving away my votes, but Brad Close played very, very well. And we do love it when Jezza celebrates his teammates' work, don't we? We love it when Jezza appreciates someone.
Which bit are you focusing on in particular? Because there's the applause that he does, and you see the arms up in the air. I was quite intrigued by the one where Danger had kicked this big bomb from 55 out. Yes. And Jez is behind the goal line, kind of marks it as it comes over, and then just lowers it down, kisses the ball. Mate, what are you doing?
I don't know what Jez is doing half the time. I'm talking. There was a moment where I was. Did
you see the video of him and his baby this week?
Yes.
After he'd gone for a round of golf, he's a quirky unit.
Oh, mate, there was a passage of play where we got the ball to Jezza through some really good work through the midfield. I can't remember who started the chain or who was involved, but Jezza got it, and you could just see everyone in the crowd recognised it as well. And Jezza's just got the ball tucked under one arm, and he's just sort of just doing the gentlemanly clap kind of thing.
I can't remember. I remember it too. I can't remember who delivered it there, but
yeah, I can't remember. That was fantastic. Did you see the Candy Man? He's been selling candy a little bit lately. The Candy Man can, because he mixes it with love, makes the world go around. Zach Tui, he loves selling the candy.
He's taking the piss out of a few people at the moment. Bit of Irish flair.
I love it, and he doesn't get as many possessions these days, but he does love a good goal. So it's always a good bit of fun. It wasn't selling the candy so much, but there was a moment where Tom Hawkins was about to be tackled by 4 blokes, and somehow they all fell off him and
backed away in a couple of instances. And
I don't know what was going on, and then Tommy just found himself with room to move and just turns around and bang.
Jeez, wasn't he happy with himself too?
Do you know who loves a goal? Patrick Dangerfield from 55 metres. Doesn't he love a goal?
Yeah, but he inside he is just Cheshire Cat at the time. But he walks off with just the one finger pointed.
Yep.
Fairly straight face with just one of those as he's walking away. Keeps it pretty low key, but inside he's the smuggest prick in the world in that moment.
If you're ever watching, if you're at the footy and Dangerfield takes a mark and you see a bloke 2 or 3 seats down from you or in front of you just going like this, that's me. I'm always copying the Dangerfield has this little flourish every time he takes a mark. He's like, he flicks his little hands, and now he takes a lot more chest marks these days because he's not as aerial. So now it's more like sort of like it's the little flick job. So anyway, that was good. Anything else you liked, mate, from the game? A couple of more ticks before we move on.
Oh, look, I mean, everyone really contributed. It was the old team effort thing. There was no real weaknesses, I felt. No, I really can't think of anyone that struggled. It was nice to see, as you touched on earlier, Mitch never get out there. He didn't get that much game time. But it is what it is. It's good that the AFL has turned the sub into a strategic one, if that's what you want to do with it, because Cam Guthrie obviously sat on the pine to allow that to happen. Very sacrificial when it comes to games against Sydney, because he did it in the grand final to let Parf on.
No hamstring this time though. No fake hamstring. Just technical sub.
Yep. So I mean, lots of really good things to see out of the game.
Well, final tick from me, mate, was because I don't know if you know, but I was in the Peroni Lounge. I shouted my partner. Once a year we do it. We sort of go in style to the footy and in the Peroni Lounge.
Down on everyone else.
So I'm giving a big tick to the jam and cream scones. Peroni Lounge. I'm a bit of a wanker, aren't I? But I'm sitting there watching the.
Yeah, very Melbourne supporter of it.
I'm chewing away on the scones. Oh dear. Anyway, I should have saved that for the Melbourne game. But what are you going to do? That was fun. Then we can always find a couple of crosses. There's always one or two.
Well, we're going to keep wailing on Cam Guthrie's hair until it grows back.
We have to keep wailing until that grows back. I think he's keeping it trim. I think he's maintaining it the short length. So I don't think there's a mission. He's not on a mission to grow it back anytime soon. So I think his younger brother might be, but he might be growing it quite long. Hasn't quite got the facial hair going yet.
No, I don't think he's hit puberty yet. So
yeah, a couple of people on Twitter were saying that it didn't sound very loud. The crowd. I don't know if those people, the same people that were in the crowd. I was at the game and I didn't notice that it wasn't very loud. But maybe the microphones on the TV weren't picking up the Geelong crowd too much, or maybe they were all.
It's the fact that you don't have mics down one end of the ground because there's no one there. Yeah. Yeah. And just in terms of a noise thing, like if you think of most stadiums, it echoes because it's coming from every direction. It just kind of bounces off. But there's a whole, quarter of the ground almost, 20% of the ground, that is just empty. And it's just an open thing for that noise energy to just kind of push through. So it's always going to sound a bit dulled while the stadium is what it is. And, that'll be the case for the rest of the season, it seems. So
yeah, I don't think it was that bad. Look, we're probably not the loudest supporter base going out there. I'm not going to deny that, but I didn't see it as an issue when I was there. I know a lot of people on Twitter were saying, what's going on? All these empty seats. Where's all the Geelong supporters? They're getting too comfortable. But no, I didn't see. Do you know what? The other cross, mate. They got to fix the footies up. What's wrong with the footballs? Clearly, they're misshapen footballs, and Jez is doing his darnest to fix it. But
Jez has been doing that since he's GWS.
He's just trying to squeeze these footies, get them back into shape. But there's something wrong with them at the moment.
No, I'm not buying in too much to that one, especially when it comes to Jeremy, because he's been doing that since way before he got to the Cats.
Yeah. But a genuine cross, and I feel a bit harsh because he played okay and missed a week before, but Gary Rowan was missing a couple of marks. Just seemed to be a bit, I don't know, just misjudging him a little bit. Did you see, or did that stand out to you at all? Or
it didn't jump out at me. I do recall a few that he dropped, but they were nothing. it was nothing too egregious, and we know he's actually got some of the best hands in the club, as he kind of proved in the qualifier against Collingwood as well. So I'll give him a pass. It's one. If we start to see a pattern, sure, we question it. But no, I think this. I'm
searching, Gary. If you're watching, I had to try and come up with a couple of crosses, and I'm really reaching on that one. So you played pretty well, mate. So I think we give everyone a big tick for a good team effort. There's one bloke. The final cross for me, Paul, unless you've got another one, is just a bloke behind me who constantly for 120 minutes was whinging about Geelong not manning up on the Sydney opponents. And every time Sydney had 2 possessions in a row, he would start whinging again about Geelong just not manning up. So I think he just doesn't realise, doesn't hear
how the game is played.
Exactly. So, but he went on and on and on about it. I just kept elbowing my wife saying, listen to this bloke. We're actually thinking it was quite funny towards the end. He just went on and on and on about it. All right, mate. What did you think about the Swans, though? Before we get into the votes, any of the Swans? I think you mentioned
Rowbottom before.
Yeah, right. I had Isaac Henney. I thought he was okay at times. Callum Mills was a tackling beast. I think he had maybe 12 tackles or something like that.
Yeah, that's because he was chasing Tom Hawkins' ass for the whole game.
Exactly. And
Will
Hayward
was
had a
all right.
couple of
Yeah,
goals.
you got Will Hayward there.
A couple of
That's
goals,
fair.
but that's it. Look, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, you've got only one name in the worst, and I do like hanging on this particular individual. He's a pain in the ass. But like, you could really add half the squad to Papley's name here. Yeah.
And look, he was copping a bit from the crowd, and I guess the good players do, don't they? So I see
he creates that adversarial relationship with opposition as well, because he's a mouthy little prick. He's the typical small forward. He's Hayden Valentine. He was another person that Cats fans hate. And Matty Scarlett too, conveniently enough.
Yeah, true. And I think they'd kicked 5 goals at one point, and he started mouthing off, and I don't think they kicked a goal after that. So it was like the 4th or the 5th goal, and he was all feeling good about himself and how Sydney was going. And
someone had kicked a goal. One of the young blokes had kicked a goal. Stevens had kicked a goal. And both him and Papley swung around to Mitch Duncan and tried to chirp him. Mitch Duncan just laughed in their faces.
I was going to talk about that actually. Do you like a bit of lip from Mitch Duncan? Because he was enjoying. He gave a bit back actually.
Well, yeah. If you're going to dish it out, you give it back. I don't think he's the sort to initiate too much.
No,
he's not like your Andrew Mackie from back in the day who always have a wise ass comment to make.
Yeah.
It's dish it back. I think it's the classy way. Is like, okay, if they keep quiet, but if someone fires,
I'm all here for it.
Go the old point to the scoreboard, remind them how that grand final was last year and how eerily similar the result was that night. But otherwise, be the bigger man, I guess. And I think he was.
Yep. Should we do some votes?
Yeah. Kick it off.
All right. Now, this is we've talked pre-show, and you've come at me pretty hard early here. So I'm going to give you my 3, 2, 1. I'll start. Or do you want to do? Yeah, I'll do mine, and then you can do yours. Okay.
Yeah.
I've gone 3 votes to my man, Brad Scott. Brad Scott.
Brad Scott. Hang on, you're casting your mind too forward to next week.
Well played. Brad Close. I thought he was fantastic as a link man throughout. Got involved on the scoreboard as well. We just look dynamite when he's going. And while he didn't kick his 5 goals or have his 30 touches, know every time he touches it, good things happen at the Geelong Football Club. He is a joy to watch. So I gave him the 3 votes. I gave my 2 votes to Paddy Dangerfield, and I think Paddy Dangerfield might have got the Roll of Honour award this week on Twitter. So I'll post that a bit later on. But he's the pretty popular vote there. Paddy Dangerfield for his 31 touches and a goal, I think he kicked. And my 1 vote. Sorry, Jezza. I didn't get you in my votes, Jezza, for your or Tommy Hawkins. I didn't get either of you in my votes. I've given it to Mark Blitzarves, who I was in love with on Saturday night. Absolutely, I was loving everything he was doing.
Did play a very good game.
He did everything. He was rucking. He was bursting through the centre, setting up plays. He was kicking goals.
Snapshot goals.
Mate, is there anything the man can't do? I just loved it. So I found it very, very hard to not fit. Probably could have got 6 players in the votes, but anyway, that's what I went with. So I'm sure there'll be some angry YouTube followers of this channel that will come at me in the comments. But anyway, what did you go with?
Yeah, look, I'll tag you for the 2 you got wrong, which is Blitzarves and Brad Close, and I'll swap them over with. Okay. So we're 100% in sync with Paddy Dangerfield with the 2 votes, but my 3 votes went to the Coleman Medal leader. Jeremy Cameron with 5 goals and 17 disposals, another really dynamic effort there. And some really creative stuff along the way too that was, of that unselfish sort of mould that we were talking about. And the other bloke who kicked 5, Tom Hawkins, with the 1 vote. So just really excellent performances. Again, Hawk doing a bit of work in the ruck there, creating a lot of chaos as a result. He's just... both of them just incredible efforts and not getting too sucked in by the goals, but there's players I think for both of us probably a little bit stiff in the likes of Max Holmes again, who is just continuing to fly along. Tom
stiff.
Stewart, who had a great game but probably misses out simply because yes, he had 23 disposals, but we were taking the piss out of Sydney for a fair chunk of the time. The defenders really didn't have to work. Cam Guthrie is getting closer to that form that we want to see. 24 disposals from 61% game time.
Yeah, I noticed that. Not much game time for him.
Well, he did sub himself off, so that's...
but even before that, so he's probably another one in that over 30 age group now. You can't believe he's over 30. It feels like he's always in that mid-30s range. Mid-20s, sorry. But yeah, he didn't play a lot. But yeah, you could 10 or 15 players easily had probably one of their best games of the year. I think a full quarter effort from the club was just great to see, wasn't it? All right, quickly as we go around the grounds before we finish up and before we look at next week as well, but around the grounds, Rory Lobb had the last laugh. No lobster tears.
The Rock Lobster.
The Rock Lobster. Dogs smash Freo by 49 points. Bontempelli is going to be a raging hot favourite for the Brownlow pretty soon. We didn't talk about Jezza, but Jezza could win the Coleman and the Brownlow as well. Port have now won their 3rd straight too, so... and Connor Rozee is off to a pretty hot start as well. So he'll be another one in those Brownlow conversations as well. Connor Rozee is looking pretty good. I had him last year. I had him as one of the big improvers and didn't quite crack it at the start of the year, but finished the year really strong and has picked up from where he left off last year as well. Coming through on the news just before as well with the suspension or the bans, Tom Jonas, the Port captain, he's copped a week for was it a hit or I think it was a hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bump.
Yeah. Yeah,
bump that was shoulder to shoulder, but there was a head collision in the process, and so he got the 1 week. Callum Ward, similar sort of deal with the tackle.
Yeah, another week for him as well.
Which, if you're willing to indulge, I'd like to really dive into that one because
we need a show about that.
Not so much the specific that specific tackle itself, but the media commentary that's gone around afterwards that the player who's being tackled is going to try and manipulate this and try and extract something. No, they're not, because if they get wrapped up and slung to the ground like that, and they take a head hit, that's their game over, and they miss the next week. No one is trying to take advantage of this thing. They understand the damage it can do to themselves from a health sort of thing, and they're going to miss game time, not because they inflicted the damage, but because they're the one that cops the head knock and gets
concussion protocols. Won't let you play.
The hysteria around it is. In the last 24 hours is absolutely insane to me. It just shows how foolish and stupid some people are, I think.
Well, I've got thoughts on it too, but I think we'll save that for another conversation. We'll have to find an opportunity to talk about that or some of the bigger issues in the AFL outside of just your game recaps and so forth, because I've got a lot of thoughts on that side of things with the AFL moving forward. So what else have we got here? So Charlie Cameron, another Cameron went big on the weekend. He was doing plenty of revving in was it a home game? I can't remember.
They went down to GWS.
7 goals, so not much playing of the Country Road song, the Johnny Denver song, but clearly had a great game. And did you?
And he was the difference. He was the difference in that game. Without without Charlie Cameron, they lost. They would have lost.
Yep. Do you know what I like doing on a Sunday afternoon, Paul? Is sitting down with a nice cuppa, watching the Hawthorn Football Club get smashed and lose a close one. There's nothing better on a Sunday afternoon.
I was disappointed in the sense that it stopped us from, as I touched on before, from us jumping into the 8 at the end of the week. True. Unless, of course, Richmond gets the job done against Melbourne, which is not outside of the realms of possibility, but I don't think it'll happen.
I don't care.
I was sitting here trying to get some work done before I go back to work tomorrow. And had the footy on one screen and my work on the other, and that last quarter I end up probably dropping about 15-20 minutes of work to just sit and watch it because I was rooting for Hawthorn. I wanted us to slip into the 8. As it is, it didn't work out, and so far up to this point I'm 7 from 7 on the tips for the week. So
nice, not bad.
Tip the Dogs to get it done against Freo, tip the Saints against the Blues, and we'll see what happens with the Pies and the Bombers, and
You must have seen that I tipped Freo and you did the exact opposite.
Oh, did I? I'm not even part of the footy tips, which is
I'm going to get a T-shirt
big miss on my part, actually. I shouldn't have.
I need to get a T-shirt that says Freo fucks me every single time. It's every single time they do me. I'm not picking them anymore, and I guarantee you they'll go on a 10-game winning streak. It will happen, I promise you. All right, so what else have we got? Crows have won their 4th straight. We should acknowledge
Darcy
that.
Fogarty goal that I mentioned before.
The Saints have roared into top spot on the ladder after losing the week before, so they're back on top 10. I don't know if they'll hold it, but that's where they are right now. We'll see what happens on Tuesday with Essendon, how they're travelling. I think the Saints have got Essendon covered with percentage anyway. Who's got the second best percentage in the AFL at the moment? The Geelong Football Club. Thank you very much. Carlton, they're all falling apart. They've had consecutive losses now. So Terry and Pommy from the Blue Abroad show, they'll be raging at the moment, I'm assuming. So, oh well, it happens. We lost 3 in a row, so it's going to happen to everyone. And Gold Coast got the job done against North. Sadly for Todd Goldstein, he's just had a career of misfortune, hasn't he? He hasn't had a lot of joy, much to celebrate in his 300 games, but unfortunately they couldn't get it done for him. Good to see Ben King kick 5 goals. So,
yeah.
He's as we all know, he's had a bit of a tough run of it lately. So
upping his trade value before he goes back home to St Kilda or potentially Collingwood, apparently.
Oh, we'll have him at Geelong. If he's keen to play for a Premiership team, we're more than happy to have him. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen, but anyway. So look, we talked about it, but we're playing Essendon next week, mate. So we're currently, as you mentioned, we're outside of we're in the 8 right now. We're sitting 8th.
We'll likely slip to 9th.
Who knows what that'll be after the Essendon Collingwood game on Tuesday afternoon? But I'm not too fast. 3-3, whatever. It's pretty close. Pretty close top 8, really. There's not much in it, and we get a few more wins. We'll be jumping up the ladder pretty quickly thanks to our very healthy percentage. We've beaten the Bombers 4 times in a row, mate. Have you got any concerns? Actually, no. Don't tell me your concerns. Tell me why Essendon's going to beat Geelong. Let's go down.
Why Essendon's going to beat Geelong?
Yes, tell me why. I want you to convince me and convince our listeners and viewers.
Mate, this is like the complete reverse. You're the one that's the Essendon stan here this year.
I know. Well,
because I don't believe in the Bombers for a second. I know that other foot is on its way to dropping.
What happens, and you still haven't conceded that I'm onto something yet, but no. What happens if Essendon does beat Geelong? Will you have a change of heart on the Bombers this season if we lose and they go?
So actually, I think for the Bombers, setting aside the us v them part of it for a second, if they put up a good performance against both Collingwood, obviously, and Anzac Day, but Anzac Day is this weird sort of, it's an Easter Monday style thing where it doesn't matter where they are on the ladder. Sometimes it can be one of those things. But if they put up a pair of good performances against both Collingwood and then us the following week, regardless of the win, loss, lose or draw component, I might have to start at least considering the possibility they might play finals.
I think they'll have to split them at least at the very. If you lose 2 of them, it's going to make it very hard for them. But you'd want to at least split those 2. I'd say as a Bomber fan, you'd be happy in the next fortnight if you got one out of 2. If you got 2 out of 2, you absolutely cock a hoop.
If they get both, then I'll come around to your line of thinking. But if they, I think that's right. I'm meant to be presenting why they're going to win. They've got nothing. Sam Draper.
Okay, that's all right.
Sam Draper. Like they've got an edge when it comes to the ruck, but we'll just send Mark Blitzer.
Well, that's
true. Fine. My worry for the Bombers, if I'm being sincere, is that they don't have their defense is still a little bit vulnerable. Like the key defenders are a bit vulnerable. So with Hawk finally being back up and about and feeling fresh, and Jez obviously kicking 4.5 goals a game. It's the same, I guess, concern that most teams have when they play against Geelong, is that they may not have what they need to be able to stop the tall forwards of Geelong. And same idea going the other way. I mean, the Bombers are still a bit vulnerable with their tall forwards at the moment. They've played such a great team game so far, but when they come across a team that can really match them, and I don't really count the Melbourne game because Melbourne was so far off their game that week. That was a really bad performance from Melbourne. I feel like if their opposition is a quality team like a Collingwood or a Geelong and they bring their game, I just wonder if all of that difference in kind of raw skill starts to get exposed a bit.
It's interesting. They're on the same level as Adelaide for me at the moment. I keep waiting for Adelaide to fall over.
They tried their best today.
They're 4 wins out of 4 now. It's crazy where they are. I mean, yeah, full credit to Adelaide. I think they'll still drop off at some point, but at some point you've got to say, well, hang on, when are they going to lose a game? So, look, if Essendon beat Collingwood, I actually hope they do beat Collingwood. How great will that be? And how many people will they get to the MCG on the Sunday afternoon 1:10 start? If Essendon are second on the ladder and Cats are, we've beaten them last few times clearly, but it'll be great. I love watching those two go at it. It'll be fantastic.
Well, Zach Merritt will be back.
Zach will be back,
and we won't have lost Mitch Duncan, which would be nice.
No, and will Jed Buse be back? Will Sam Simpson keep his ruck duties, or will Jonathan Segler be named?
I don't know.
Reece Stanley make a miraculous recovery from an eye socket injury.
No, he's definitely medium term.
Medium term,
5 weeks. I don't know. Jed Buse.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
I'm just trying to think about their small forwards and whether there's even a right matchup, or do you just go look after yourself a bit longer?
It's like Jed.
Let alone whatever
you're not dropped,
protocols. He's still got to.
Yeah.
He's still got to pass them. The 12 days can be up, but he's still got to pass the tests as well. So.
I think Jed's probably not one of those first 15 picked. I mean, you could say every one of those. We just love all those Premership players, don't we? But if I'm being really honest, he's not a fringe player. But I don't think the coaches are going to lose too much sleep if they decide to keep him out of the game. And that's not a shot on the bloke. I kind of like the guy, but I think if he doesn't play again, and we're winning at the moment, so don't change things unnecessarily. If you're happy with the mix and it seems to work on paper, it's going to work pretty well against the Bombers.
Yeah,
stay with it. So who knows? The ruck one's the big one for me, whether Segler comes in or I'm not sure why he missed it. I didn't actually see the news as to why he missed out, but it was family.
No, he had a kid. He had a kid.
Oh, he had a kid, or his partner.
And
did.
it was a really last minute thing. It all happened real quick. So
happy for him. Well done to the Segler family. Good on them for that. Happy for him. But we'll see if he plays this week. I guess Shannon Neal seems to still be a fair way off. Or will they go for the Blitzarves Sam DeConning arrangement again, where Blitzarves plays the first 15 minutes in the ruck every quarter, and then like clockwork, in comes Sam DeConning at the 15-minute mark, and every single quarter that happened on the weekend. So I don't know if they'll do that again. It's good to. I want to see Sam DeConning settle in a role. I don't want to see him moving around too much. Blitzarves is a natural at it, but I'm not sure if Sam DeConning's is as good at at playing that utility role.
Just to, I guess, put a bow on our Essendon side of things. I don't know if you did this last week. I'll admit I didn't check out the show afterwards, but the trivia side of things. I throw a few questions at you for.
Go for it. If you got
like
some, I'm happy to play this.
How many goals did John Coleman kick on debut?
I want to say 11.
Oh, geez, you were close. 12.
I knew it was over 10.
That's absurd, but anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What year did the Essendon Football Club seniors play their first game?
Younger than us. Can I guess how old they are? Will you accept that?
How old the club is?
Yeah.
Or when they were formed, or whatever. I assume it'll get you close.
135 years ago.
Do
the math. You're the mathematician.
No, not quite. No. So 1873 was their first game, but interestingly enough, their first game on a full size ground was not till 5 years later in 1872.
Full size ground. What were they playing on then?
I don't know.
A soccer pitch or something.
And this is a true or false. Essendon were the first team to wear white shorts during a game.
I've got to say true, because that's such a random question.
It's a
you have
weird
to
sort
say
of
true.
Actually, there's quite a few here. Thanks, funtrivia.com. What can I see if there's anything good here before we?
While you're looking that up, I'm going to have a think about how much I think Geelong. Because clearly I'm going to pick Geelong to beat the Bombers, but how much do I think they'll win by? I reckon we'll get up by about 20 points. I think it'll be. I think
Cats by 4 goals.
I think Cats will be out in front by maybe 30 or 40, and the Bombers will pull it back.
Bit of junk time at the end.
Yeah, they might give us a bit of a scare, but I think we might just get another one and just. It's being very specific, aren't I? But I think we'll put it to bed. And we'll end up on paper. It'll look reasonably comfortable at about three goals, but I think they'll give us a little bit of a scare at some stage throughout the game.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yep. Your thoughts, or have you got another trivia question for me? Or
look, no, there was some weird ones there, like what was Matthew Lloyd's birthday? Well, I don't expect anyone to know. So
God, 1991. Or something.
Not so fun trivia.com.
How much is Geelong going to win by? Clearly,
I was 4 goals. I'm 4 goals.
4 goals. Okay, so similar, not too bad. All right, so the next month, before we look to wrap the show up, we've got, as you know, the Essendon. We've got Adelaide, which will be very interesting at GMHBA. I'm going to try and see if I can get 5 tickets for that to take the kids along. That'll be fun if we can make that happen. Richmond, that's always a fun game at the MCG. They are absolutely struggling at the moment. Could be 1.5 wins after 6 games after this weekend's done. And Fremantle, another team that's like, what is going on at Fremantle at the moment? Can't even win at their own deck. What is happening there? How many wins are we going to get in the next 4 weeks, mate? I'm thinking probably 4 too. Yeah,
we'll be 4 from 4. Apologies to everyone who's just seen a whole bunch of been getting some notification noise in the background and saw me have to bring up my task manager to close Microsoft Teams for a second. This stupid application.
Don't worry about that.
A day out from work and all of a sudden people decide they want to start messaging.
All good. Look, thanks everyone for watching the show. Now, if you're still watching, and we'll share some on the socials as well. If you want to check out some player reviews from the game, find yourself a way to our Patreon page. We might put that on the show notes, Paul. But we're going to do our player reviews for the game just gone. So that's be like a 15-minute video or something like that. So we'll get into a bit of an in-depth discussion about each individual player and how they went. And as I said, if you haven't already, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year if we can get there. If you do want to support us on Patreon, how much is it? It's like a cup of coffee, $5 or something like that.
$5 for a month.
For a month, or if you just want to do it for 1 month, that's cool. Anything you can do will help. And thanks again to our 3 Patreons. We really appreciate your support. Paul, another great show. You're always amazing. And
good to be back.
It's good to get a win, mate. And yeah. We'll have to do. I don't know when
we haven't been able to wax about a win all year until now.
This is the first time. Let's hopefully the next 4 weeks
do it a few more times.
We're doing it a few more times. Anyway, thanks everyone. Go Cats, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
See you guys.